on my car. The Bigfoot lore is really getting to me. And then this part is just from my finger where I was just like,
Dude, I'm about to get out of here, man.
Let's go.
How we can get...
There we go.
Some Bigfoot encounters begin quietly with one small detail that feels impossible to ignore. A sensor turns on with nothing visible nearby, and miles away a dark figure watches from the tree line with glowing red eyes. When the evidence is never complete, would you trust what you felt or what you saw? On June 7th, 2025, Kate from Kate Ventures Outdoors drives alone to a Forest Service road in Washington's North Cascades, a remote region known for its scenery but also for ongoing Bigfoot reports. Although her channel focuses on calm solo camping and outdoor travel, spending a night by herself here brings attention she does not ignore.
it's 8:30 and it's still bright. It smells so good out here. Everywhere, it just smells like flowers. It's so nice. It's so beautiful. Gosh, I found a snake. I'm pretty sure it's a rubber boa, which is crazy because the last snake I ran into in Tahoe was a rubber boa. Ah! Hi, friend. So cute. I love snakes. I was like squatting down to watch the snake and take photos, and a couple cyclists came down the mountain on the road and looked at me, and it definitely looked like I was using the bathroom. Dude, I'm like low-key freaking out. It's midnight. There's definitely something on the rocks to the right of my car. I swear. I'm not just saying this because the topic of the video is... I don't even dare say the name because I'm so freaked out right now. I'm not even gonna put this in the intro or in the title or anything because I don't want people to think I'm just doing this for attention or for the content, you know? I'm like in a freeze mode right now. It's something big because it sounds like something walking over rocks and they're kind of shuffling around as it moves, you know? I heard it once and I woke up, didn't see anything. Sat there for a while taking photos of the stars. And then I heard it again just now. And I do not feel okay. I've psyched myself out too much by looking into the lore of all of this video. And there's a big deer migration right now. I'm pretty sure it's just deer, probably. But can you see me? Sorry, you can't even see me. It's probably just deer. I don't know, man. Like, what would be? This is like freaking me out. There's definitely something here. All right, I'm gonna move campsites. I'm too freaked out by this, but oh my god, is the sky beautiful? There's so many stars.
From inside the vehicle, she hears movement close by, slow, intentional sounds of footsteps, and rocks shifting that feel too near to dismiss, yet show no clear form or source when she looks into the darkness. It's 12:30 a.m. now. I just drove a mile down the road to another... There's a bunch of other people parked here. It's like a snow park. I don't know if my voice carries outside of the car, so I'm just being quiet just in case. That was so creepy. I'm pretty sure I just psyched myself out reading all of the Bigfoot stuff. It really creeped me out. I'm not superstitious, but I am. I don't even want to mention certain things sometimes in fear of them coming alive and like actually happening. And so when I was researching the Bigfoot lore, it was just creeping me out more and more and more. Although I say I don't believe in these things, I think my body wants to believe in them very much. The reason why I didn't just stay and assess the situation was because I kept hearing the noise, and then in order to see what was making the noise, it was something coming up the hill and like knocking rocks down the hill as it came up. Since it was past that slope, the hill that I was parked on, I wouldn't be able to see it unless I get out of the car and like look over down, you know? And it sounded close. So maybe I wouldn't even have to look over, but from my car, I couldn't see it and I was too scared to get out of the car. It's the middle of the night. I don't need that. But the thing that made me move was, you know, when you change lanes, some cars on the mirror, it'll kind of blink orange if there's a car in your blind spot, basically. And I saw the orange light come on the passenger side mirror. So that means there was something in the blind spot of my car. The second I saw that light up, I turned the car on and I just drove. Freaked me out so hard. And you know, it could have just been a deer. I could have just turned around and shined a light to look. But no, I was already in the mindset of if anything, like if this noise gets closer or anything else happens, I'm gonna leave. That's what happened, and now I'm gonna get 2 hours of sleep and I'll see you in the morning. Then, with no warning, The blind spot monitor on the side mirror turns on. There are no vehicles, no people in sight, and no clear explanation, only the unsettling suggestion that something large is close enough to activate the sensor. Kate does not stay to find out. She leaves immediately.
So I just got out of the car and was looking on the right side of the car where I heard something last night, and there's this really weird mark on my car. It looks like someone took their fingers and dragged dirt on my car. The Bigfoot lore is really getting to me. I'm way overthinking this. I'm sure there's definitely a logical explanation for this, but let me show you. Like, what is this? And then this part is just from my finger where I was just like trying to see what this is, but doesn't it look like someone went like that? Anyways, I thought that was funny.
By morning, in daylight, she notices long, streak-like marks along the side of the car, placed exactly where the alert had appeared the night before, leaving her disturbed by how closely the details seem to connect. Viewers debated whether the sounds and sensor warning pointed to wildlife human error or something still unexplained in that forest. If it was only an animal, what came close enough to trigger the sensor and leave marks right where it did. On March the 27th, 2025, Salish Sasquatch presents the story of Matthew Parrish, who relocated from Texas to Washington's Quinault rainforest. The channel focuses on first-hand encounters and witness accounts involving Sasquatch activity. What starts as separate events gradually becomes a pattern, forming too close to home.
We first lived in this house when we first moved to Washington, and around 12 to 1 o'clock in the summertime, we would smell this mild, musky smell, nothing overpowering, nothing real strong, just a gamey smell. We'd come in through this bedroom window that we had right here, or the bathroom window, and we had a box fan up in there, and it would just suck in everything, so it would just fill up the whole house. And we didn't really know what that was. We thought maybe a bear at first, and it wasn't until later on when we moved out of this house and we moved into the house next door right here where we started to really experience some activity. And it wouldn't be until my parents actually came for a visit, the second week we were in this house, is when we would realize what we were dealing with, that we weren't dealing with a bear, we were actually dealing with a Sasquatch. The house is where it happened. Yeah, we followed the tracks all the way around. It came right up. They like to come right up through the woods here, and then there's a game trail right in here. This is where I give them, this is where I put all the food, because it's where they come. And this is actually the rock that was used that night. It's still here. We kept it, and they haven't taken it. When my parents came to visit that first night, we had cooked a bunch of seafood, gumbo, my stepmom did. Us being from the South, my wife hadn't had any kind of Cajun food or anything like that in a little bit, so she was really craving that. And so she made all this. We had all the windows open. This was the end of June. We just spent all evening out on the porch having a good time, probably till about 11 or 12 at night. And around midnight, we decided to call it quits and go inside and lay down for the evening. And so we let my parents have our bedroom, since it had a window unit in there, and they could be more comfortable, Me and my wife actually took my daughter's room right here. And at that time, she didn't have a window unit. It was just, we had to leave it open to be comfortable. And so around 2 in the morning, my wife wakes me up and she goes, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "No, I don't hear," she goes, "There's something out there banging." And I said, I get kind of flustered. I'm, half asleep, half awake. And I was like, "Go back to sleep. Nothing's trying to get in the house. There's all kinds of stuff. It's a rainforest full of wildlife. You're going to hear stuff." And so I start to lay back down, and I heard a very sharp, clear whistle. But this was not like, it was short. It didn't like drag out. It was just a sharp, clear, short burst of a whistle. And it didn't sound like any bird. It sounded more like something a person would make, kind of like at a construction site, but different, if that makes any sense. So now I'm awake. Something's got my attention, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to, and I can't hear anything.
Soon after moving near the Quinault rainforest, Matthew starts noticing disturbances that feel intentional instead of random. Late at night, sharp whistles break through the quiet just outside his window, short, exact, and disturbing in how purposeful they seem. On other nights, deep guttural chatter appears near his children's bedroom, described as warped speech rather than animal sound lasting just long enough to be clearly heard before fading out.
I come back over here and I'm putting my items out on the table and I can hear just something breaking the brush, and it's big, whatever it is, and it's coming up fast right here behind me. And so I spin around and my headlamp hits it and I just see two eyes looking back at me, and they kind of duck down, and I was like, oh, hi, how are you? You know, I just started talking, and then I said some expletives under my breath, and because I was kind of shaking at the same time. And it would pop up and it would look at me, and it would have these red eyes that would reflect. It was definitely reflecting from the headlamp. It wasn't like it was, you know, I've heard people say they generate their own. This was reflecting red, and something over here started getting upset, I believe, because I started hearing a bunch of brush just pop and snap and get ripped up. And this thing that I had in the headlamp would look over in that direction and then look back at me. And so as this is going on, one of the things that I noticed about it was it would be red, but as it would start to turn, it would be like almost kind of an orangish amber color. And then right when the light would hit the side of the eye, as it was looking over here, it would be a yellowish color. And then when it would come back, it would be red again. So I thought that was really odd that was happening. And then it raised up a little bit further, and this goes on for about 5 minutes. And finally I decided, okay, I need to leave, you know, I need to get back inside. And so I start to go back into the house, and it's dead silent. I don't hear anything. And when I got to the corner of the house, I looked back one last time to see if it was following, and there was a set of red eyes again right up here on the tree. How it closed that distance in that short amount of time, I don't know, you know, that without me hearing it. A friend of mine told me, who also does Bigfoot research, said that it's possible there might have been a third one, that it was on that tree the whole time, and that's what you saw, and that's why you didn't hear anything. I don't know, but it was too close for my comfort. It was probably only, you know, it's like maybe 40 feet right there. So I hightailed it on back inside the house, and that was that night. That was pretty eventful for me. And I actually captured it all on video.
Where are you? Come on. A little closer. There we go. Come on back. Come on.
The feeling of distance vanishes during a nighttime encounter near the tree line behind his house. From about 40 feet away, Matthew spots movement, something crouched low, then slowly standing up. As it shifts, a pair of red reflective eyes fixes on him, staying visible long enough to suggest awareness before pulling back into the dark.
I said, you're talking about Bigfoot, right? Sasquatch. And she goes, yeah. She said, what do you know about them? And I said, I know that they're around here. You know, they're in the Pacific Northwest. And she goes, yeah. She goes, they come through here. She said about 2 or 3 of them, a couple times off and on throughout the year, pass through. And she's actually had stuff like tap on her windows late at night. She'd let her dog out one night, and she said that her dog was going nuts, but it wasn't scared. You know, you hear a lot of stories where the dog is scared. This dog was more aggressive. He was barking at something. She called him back in, and she said that these 2 things approached her bathroom window, which is right off of her bedroom, her master bathroom. And she said that one just was kind of like very dark, deep gurgled gibberish sounding, she said, aggressive, and it was like clawing, like picking at the window screen. And so she was actually scared. She actually called the police to come out here, and they came out here and they looked around her property and everything. And you know, about 45 minutes later after they left, it comes back again. But this time there's like another one, she said, and it sounded more like panicked, you know, kind of like you know, she couldn't make out what they were saying. It just seemed like One was pissed off at her, and one wanted the one that was pissed off to leave. You know, that's the feeling that was her perception of it. And so she calls the police again, and they come back out here, and I got a video of that, of him walking around out there on our security camera. This goes on. He tells her, he said, "Hey, I can't keep coming back out here. I don't know what you got going on." And so she says, "Well, you know, that's fine." So she gets in her truck and she comes down here to where her mother lives, and she spends the night with her mother.
The activity continues from there. A nearby neighbor later describes a much more aggressive event. Soon after police leave the area, deep growls erupt outside a bathroom window, followed by violent scraping against the screen, as if something is responding to the sudden loss of attention rather than being frightened by it. Many viewers believe these behaviors point to intelligence territorial awareness and a deliberate pattern instead of coincidence. If these encounters were intentional, how long has something been watching from beyond the trees? This case is from Bailey Canterbury, a YouTube channel centered on adventure, urban exploration, and unusual encounters including alleged Bigfoot and Sasquatch sightings. Bailey often explores abandoned buildings, haunted places, and locations connected to paranormal activity. On September 17, 2008, Bailey and a friend traveled to the Indian Fort Theater in Kentucky for what appears to be a normal filming trip. But before the outing ends, they record something that neither of them can explain.
Where the hell did that thing go? I had to be fucking scared, dude. What the fuck is that thing? Do you see it? I hear the bushes moving. What the hell is that thing, man?
Where'd it go?
It's behind those bushes, man. Look.
Oh shit.
Oh my
fucking God.
What is that thing, man? I didn't know it was that fucking big. It's not coming up here, is it?
No, I don't think it recognizes, man.
The footage starts with Bailey and his friend walking through the location searching for the creature they had reportedly seen before. Their goal is to capture it on video. While checking the area, a large dark shape emerges from behind a bush. Its movement does not resemble a typical animal. It looks too smooth, too intentional. Bailey's friend appears clearly frightened. Bailey attempts to keep both of them focused as they process what they are seeing. They are able to get out of the area without injury, but the encounter remains with them afterward.
Is it doing eating? What the fuck is it doing, man? Oh, shit. What in the fuck is that thing? Is that a fucking bear? What the fuck is that? Dude, we gotta get out of here.
Hold on, man. I don't think it doesn't even notice we're here.
Holy shit. What the fuck is that thing, man? Oh my God. Gotta get out of here, man.
Let's go.
How we can get...
Could it have been a bear, as his friend first thought? Was it a person dressed in dark clothing, or was it something completely different? One detail that continues to stand out is when the footage was filmed 2008. Editing software capable of creating a believable fake like this was not common at that time. That detail has helped keep the video debated ever since. No one has confirmed what appears in the recording. Some viewers note the long arms and smooth walking pattern as details matching Bigfoot accounts, while others describe it as a planned hoax. Whatever stood in those bushes that day, it did not move like anything normal. What do you think it really was in the end? In November 2022, Michigan bow hunter Brendan Fitzpatrick was sitting alone inside his hunting blind, quietly waiting for deer activity when the silence was abruptly interrupted by a voice he did not know. When Brendan looked out, he was facing an unknown man, pointing an AR-style rifle straight at him. Brendan tried to explain calmly that he was hunting the area legally, but the man became more hostile, refusing to listen and intensifying the standoff.
Out there right now. All right. But I just want to show you kind of why we're here. I mean, we pay good money to hunt this property. We've been hunting it for years.
No, you ain't been moving for years. I've been here 8 years.
Do you live on this property right here?
Sir, you're not listening to me. I'm not.
I just want to talk to you. I'm sorry.
He repeatedly ordered Brendan to put his phone down and made comments that sounded like direct threats, while Brendan did everything he could to stay cooperative and avoid confrontation.
Put your phone down.
You have an AR in front of me. I'm scared.
Put your phone down.
Dude, I'm scared as now.
Okay, well, it's going to be more scary. Put your phone down. Are you attacking me?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm hunting. I'm hunting with...
Drop your phone.
Oh, my God. Sir,
Listen to me.
I'm bow hunting. I don't have any guns on me.
I know that.
The man kept accusing him of doing something wrong, demanding that he leave, and using both the rifle and an aggressive dog to intimidate him. Even after Brendan explained that his family had legally leased the land for bow hunting for years, the man dismissed every explanation and refused to identify himself, making it clear he was not interested in settling the situation peacefully. What made the encounter especially alarming was the man mentioning Chai Vang, the mass shooter who killed members of a hunting group in 2004, which Brendan understood as a direct warning about what might happen if he failed to comply. Brendan eventually managed to calm the situation enough to leave without being hurt, but later efforts to pursue charges led nowhere, with police saying there was not enough evidence. The incident did not end there on November 25th, 2023. Brendan's brother ran into the same person while hunting nearby, even after intentionally setting up more than 150 yards from the original location. This time, the man reportedly fired without warning, though none of the rounds hit him, and he escaped safely. Again, no charges were filed, leading people online to speculate that the man may have local connections protecting him from consequences. Although nobody was physically hurt, the case raises serious questions about accountability, rural law enforcement, and whether these encounters came from unchecked aggression, or something even more concerning. What do you think should have been handled differently to keep this from escalating further?
That's it for tonight. Which moment creeped you out the most? Drop it in the comments. Have your own story? Share it with us, and stay tuned. The next one is even darker.